I'd like to start this off with asking you to please close your eyes for a moment. Everyone closing your eyes? Okay, so once you close your eyes, I want you to imagine yourself all alone in the middle of a field, looking up at the sky. You had all the time in the world to look at this clear and breathtaking view. Now, in the sky, you see a reflection of yourself, so transparent and free. You see who you really are from the inside out, all you believe in, value, and aspire. Think about a few of these things. You feel so clear and connected. You see everything that makes you so unique and beautiful. Stare at yourself for a bit. How does it feel? How does it look? Pretty great, I bet. While you keep looking at your reflection, I want you to imagine this stunning and majestic bird flying by. You acknowledge it quickly, and then look back at yourself. You see and feel another bird, then another bird, and another. A storm of birds flying around, and slowly you catch yourself irritated and frustrated, confused as these birds make it difficult to see yourself. The image of yourself seems to fade further and further away in the distance as your focus shifts to the birds more and more. Where are you? Open your eyes, please. That person is you, every day. And those birds are the product of what I call the uncertainty epidemic. Let me explain. Pretend I'm you for a moment, with those exact values and ideas so connected to your identity that you just imagine in your head. Next to you is the education system, which, in my opinion, creates the overachiever trap. That trap is built based on fear, stress, information overload, and comparison. It is fueled by students' unsustainable and external motivations, such as getting these grades, do this activity, go to this school, study this subject, to get approval by your peers, parents, university. They don't actually align with the true values of yourself, maybe without even fully realizing it. And they certainly do not prepare you to cope with this uncertainty epidemic. Okay, what is this uncertainty epidemic? The uncertainty epidemic is a problem of not knowing how to cope with this increasingly influx of new technology and data. The powerful algorithms that may soon be able to understand yourself better than you do. Think about that for a moment. They have the potential to hack your identity. Potential to hack your identity. Make us re-question things like, what does it mean to be alive nowadays? What does it mean to be human? Facebook, Google, Apple all have the resources and the power to influence your choices without you even sometimes being aware of them, from political opinions to day-to-day consumer behavior. And this, guys, is just the beginning. They are the birds that are just flying around everywhere really crazy, and you just don't know what to do about them. And by the way, I really don't have anything about birds. It just helps me get my point across better. Anyway, they're just flying around your face, distorting that image of yourself, that version that is so true and unique. And even worse, we don't know sometimes what to do about it because we don't know who to listen to, because neither our parents, our grandparents, teachers, or global leaders have ever experienced this rapid change ever before. So, to me, it is no surprise that when I hear that my generation is the most stressed generation of all, that we are labeled as depressed or anxious, have a lack of motivation or perseverance. Now, I want to challenge you. Instead of the medical definition of these terms, I believe that a great majority is not necessarily that what we understand about clinical depression. Rather, is it maybe that we're just not aligned to our true identity? Yet, even alone know what it is? And I mean, we like that. It's probably easier and more profitable to just give more medication rather than dealing with the actual root of the problem. And what terrifies me is that this gap between us and our true identity will keep on growing if we don't do anything about it. Now I'm asking you, if we aren't currently able to cope with this change, how will we, as future leaders, be able to tackle political and social problems in an even more rapidly growing world? Now, before I go into what I believe would be two suggestions that could tackle this uncertainty epidemic and overachiever trap, I want to talk about why this talk sucks. One, I ain't an expert. Obviously, I'm just an 18-year-old kid. There are a lot of variables that go into this topic. And also what I'm going to say is no exact breakthrough idea, a one-way model that can solve all of the problems. However, I can outline the principles that I believe will move us into the right direction starting today. Which brings me to point number 2. This is just a talk. I know that if I Google education and problems or technology and problems, I will come up with countless of similar conclusions that I'm going to tell you today. And that is exactly what worries me. I'm urging us all to stop waiting for something or someone to finally change it and just take action. Because in the end, it is up to us, together, to create enough momentum for change. Now, I came up with one macro approach, which I will believe will be the foundations for a more sustainable and updated education system for the long term, and one macro approach that we as individuals need to implement today to stop the overachiever trap and uncertainty epidemic. So after discussing with several people, conducting surveys, and doing some Googling, came up with 4 principles that I believe should be the, hopefully, very soon, future of a high school system with a goal to work towards a more self-centered education. Now, the 4 principles are based around what I call FACT. F for flexibility and freedom, A for assessment methods, C for collaboration, and T for teaching. What exactly I mean is that with flexibility and freedom, that we move towards outside of a few standard classes towards more freedom to explore a greater variety of subjects in high school, online through self-study at your own pace, to practice different skill sets and learning styles. A, assessments, less frequent weighted and standardized testing, more project and skill-focused work, greater focus on development and helping students identify their strengths, skills, intrinsic motivations, and interests early on. C, collaboration. Work on human skills and having students from different strengths, maybe even ages, and interests work together. T, this might be the most radical thought. Remove the teacher role as we know it. Change from teacher-centered learning to student-centered learning. Teachers' education shifted from more the traditional role that loads information on us and prepares us for exams to more of a coach and learning facilitator than a specialized expert. The teacher that tracks students' individual process, helps students expand their interests and organize class discussions and projects that allow students to collaborate and share their unique skills and understandings. Okay, so how does this all look like together? Came up with a draft timetable. Pretend I'm Jim. I'm going into the 9th grade. I love sports, and I've just sat around with my teacher, discussed some opportunities and possibilities, and decided that for my first semester of high school, I want to focus on learning more about nutrition. So I'm doing that 10 to 11 a.m. in the mornings on Monday. I'm meeting my teacher in an interview-based setting to discuss about my progress, my learning, see whether I like it, how it fits to my strengths. Then from 11 to 1 p.m. every day of the week, I have my standard classes such as global politics, environment, philosophy and ethics, practical maths, and arts. And then from 1 to 3 p.m. I have lunch and clubs. As you can see, it implements the 4 principles of FACT: freedom to explore more variety, experiment more in your curriculum; assessment, that it's more focused on collaboration through lunch, clubs, group projects. For instance, during global politics, he might be sent into a group with different peers in order to write a position paper on data policy for the United States, which he's going to present on Friday. And teaching, as in the teacher is set to guide the student and lead discussions and allow students to take their own learning in their hands. Now, you might ask, well, Pary, what about the students who are right now affected by this epidemic? This is my favorite part of the talk, so please check in with your neighbor, make sure they're still awake, conscious, give them a high five or whatever. Just yeah, okay, everyone awake? Alright, well, if you should keep one thing out of this talk, to control and make the birds your friend, it is know yourself and keep knowing yourself. Please take a moment to say this in your head a few times, know yourself, just really manifest it. Alright. Now let me clarify. This isn't just a one-time thing. Pary, I spent 2 hours New Year's Eve setting my personal goals and vision for the year. I'm set. Well, okay, that's great. But remember, this is a continuous and never-ending journey. Why? In a time where our environment is changing so much, so rapidly, and more birds enter the sky, it demands you to constantly redefine and understand yourself. So where do we start? Well, maybe with taking responsibility and quit the blame game. Put it on your phone, write it on your hand, in which you declare and take responsibility that you will from today onwards go on a never-ending journey on knowing yourself. Define how you measure your personal successes and goals. For example, instead of saying, if I get these grades or these jobs, I will be happy or successful, measure your success on intrinsic and intangible things, such as giving your best all the time, being helpful, curious, or supportive. Make it a freaking ritual and habit. Make your decisions and actions align with these values. Because in reality, it isn't your teachers or exams that make you stress. It is your perception and attributing a certain meaning to them that make you frustrated. And the sooner you realize that, and the sooner you take action on that, the sooner you're more aligned to your identity. Now, second step, don't be ignorant. Kill your inner overachiever and claim personal certainty. Become the voice you and your friends need and create an environment in which you can thrive and reinforce your values automatically. Separate yourself from the overachiever trap and learn more by helping others to do so as well. Bring this topic up in class, to your school board, to your friends or parents. Join groups. Take the time at home to constantly remind yourself that no one has the power to say who you're going to be other than you. No grade or individual can make you feel less worthy, less smart or less talented, less able to achieve whatever the you want to achieve. And fully believing and understanding that is what's going to pay off in the long run, tremendously. Now, the last point that I want to also share with you is that I think is a bit underrated is don't rely on your current system. And with that I mean experiment and reconnect yourself. Stop complaining that you don't enjoy school or are too stressed to do what you like. Go find the time to experiment. Try out different things to see what you enjoy, what you like, what you're good at. Practice it. Find what makes you willing to stand up at 5 a.m. in the morning and go do it. What gives you more certainty, more alignment, more sense of yourself? Equally important, what doesn't? Build your unique education around that or those things, whether it is modern art, video games, nanobiology, learning Python, or nutrition. That is way more important than memorizing the quadratic formula. Now, to some of you might be curious, the reason why I'm speaking here today and the reason why I'm so passionate about this topic is because I myself fell in this overachiever trap. And I noticed way too many of my friends from high school to university doing the same thing. In 8th grade, I got average grades, sometimes below average grades besides physical education. Then came 9th grade. Things are becoming more stressful. We're being told now universities will see what's on your transcript. And by grade 11, I was part of several different student bodies. I was playing soccer at competitive level, and my grade 11 report card had almost, except one class, shout out to English, the highest grade. However, it was only till grade 12, right before my final exams, that I realized what I was doing. See, starting around 8th to 9th grade, my dad got very sick. He started suffering from dementia, and right before my final exams last year, he passed away. And that really made click to me because I realized that during that time, leading up to that moment, I was really avoiding my own reality, and I was so stuck in that overachiever trap that I really completely lost track of who I really am and what I value and what means a lot to me. And as you guys probably can imagine, it was a pretty difficult time for me. And I know I had a choice between either, take responsibility or keep on dwelling and just continue making myself feel more and more sad about it. So what I did, I went on a journey of experimentation, of really working hard to just understand myself better, to try out different things and come to terms with everything that was going on. I started doing different things from coding to having my own small business. And after realizing that and doing that, and more importantly, working on myself, I started to feel way more connected to myself. And that's what I want everyone also to start believing and working towards. Because I want you to take away that on a macro scale, to stop less complaining about anything else, about the school system. Take more action on implementing principles of fact. The true winners are those that take responsibility for themselves and the education and future that they want to see. On a micro scale, my goal for you today is to be one step closer to knowing yourself better. I'm encouraging you to start working on understanding yourself and the things that you truly care about. That we are able to look up and see ourselves so clearly that no bird flying by can distract us from the certainty of who we are and what we want to do. I'm Pary. Thank you for listening.